What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I started not to make this video because I'm pissed off, because I do not think the fight is going to happen next, and if it does, I don't see it happening by December 10th, since we're still dealing with the negotiations. But then I thought about it, and I don't want to take it out on you and not explain. So I'm going to explain this Golovkin versus Jacobs negotiation. And I posted, did a little graphic and posted. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram, and I'm giving my thoughts and just give a visual, because I know a lot of people are unsure. God damn, Brittany just looks scrumptious. Make sure you follow me. I'll be posting. So I made this little graphic, and the situation is Golovkin is the super WBA champion, the more respected of the two belts, and Jacobs is the regular champion. One, in my opinion, it's just stupid that we have so many belts in boxing in general, and this is one of the problems. Now you have two people who are champions and fighting as champions for the same belt. It's just a different version. But then when it comes to them fighting each other, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this belt supersedes this belt. You know what I'm saying? And if they just had one belt, one WBA belt, then we wouldn't be running into this. You would just have Golovkin or Jacobs as the one and only WBA belt holder, and that'd be the end of it. But boxing is a business, so all these sanctioning bodies have multiple belts. That's why they call them the alphabet belts, and that it is what it is. So let me break it down what's happening. The WBA just refused, or basically the purse bid rules for the WBA, 75 to 25% split in ratio, right? And the person with the superior belt, being Golovkin, he's the super champion, would get the lion's share of that 75%. Now, purse bids are tricky because it's like an auction, so we don't know what that number is. It depends on whoever's the highest winning bidder, right? And I'm going to give you guys some examples, so make sure you stay tuned for this video. I'm going to give kind of like a math lesson. So 75 to 25%. Team Jacobs' lawyer wanted to try to get 40%. They acknowledge that Gennady Golovkin is the A side. He is the super champion. He's the bigger draw. But they're saying, hey, respect us, 40%. He can make most of the money. We'll fight him, but we want a 40% split, and he can get 60, right? And I told you guys, I don't have a problem with negotiate. That's what business is. You don't just go. I used to, this is just a random story. I used to go with my mom back when I was a kid, yard selling. And it's the art of the haggle. People will say, oh, how much for that Super Nintendo? Oh, I want 50 bucks for it. I'm not paying 50 for no SNES. You know what I mean? So you're like, hey, what about 30? What about 25? You know what I mean? You got them down to 30. What about 25, 15? And then you'll be surprised what you can haggle and negotiate. So I'm all okay with that. Me, I know what this is coming from. It's all boxing politics. Jacobs, he knows he's taking a risk in there. He respects Golovkin, it sounds like, and he wants to be compensated. And this is, again, some of these problems are created by the sanctioning bodies having all these belts. But I broke it down in my caption, right? And you guys read the caption. I really don't give a shit how much either guy makes unless they're going to put some money and route that to my bank account. You know what I'm saying? So I could care less. I just want to see the fight, but I'm understanding the business, and I'm trying to break it down for you guys, right? So the situation is, it's money. Money, 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 money. That's what it always boils down to. And the thing is, you can't chump Jacobs. Like, at first I was like, oh man, Jacobs don't want to fight, but I was thinking about it, and Jacobs, the fight would take place in New York. That's what they were trying to stage it at. He's a New York native, and he arguably, not even really arguably, but I'll say arguably, has a better sole win than anybody on Golovkin's resume. And that's by knocking out Peter Quillin in the Battle of Brooklyn in one round, right? There's nobody on Golovkin's whole resume that trumps that. You can say, oh, Kell Brook, he's so skilled, but he was a welterweight. You know what I'm saying? Peter Quillin, whether you like him, hate him, he was an undefeated big guy who sometimes missed the weight, clearly has punching power, right? Has a solid resume. Hassan Indam, Gabe Rosado, Winky Wright, you know what I'm saying? Had a solid resume going into the fight, right? You look at Peter Quillin, what he did to Hassan Indam before David Lemieux, and some people say David Lemieux is Golovkin's best win. And Hassan Indam was knocked down 6 times by Peter Quillin, and I believe Lemieux knocked him down 4 times, and it looked like he was in a little bit of trouble in the 12th round. But whatever, Peter Quillin, it was a competitive fight too. So the bottom line is, in my honest opinion, Peter Quillin, where he was, who he was, and where he was ranked in the middleweight division, that sole win is better than anybody on Golovkin's resume, right? David Lemieux, he was a champion with no title defenses. You can't say that about Peter Quillin, right? He has power too, he's big, but he's shorter. You look at Peter Quillin versus Danny Jacobs, about the same height, and Peter Quillin's clearly big, right? So there's differences. Peter Quillin had never been stopped. David Lemieux had been stopped, and he lost his very next fight. So Jacobs is like, I'm not a chump. Not to mention, in the Peter Quillin fight, Danny Jacobs got $1.5 million for that. So whether we like it or not, boxing is a business, and these fighters are looking at it like, whoa, okay, I'll fight Golovkin, but really, you want me to make 25%, which would, depending on the purse bid, could be less than what I made for fighting Peter Quillin, and this is the guy who's the boogeyman. You know what I'm saying? So I was thinking about that, and I did some math for you guys, and I'll do it here on this Google calculator. Let's say the winning auction style purse bid is $3 million, right? Times 0.25, 750,000. So you see how I arrived at that number? So basically, if the winning purse bid is $3 million, which is, you know what I mean, a good amount of money that somebody would be putting up, Lou DiBella or K2 or whatever, then Jacobs would get 750,000, which is going to be less than what he got to fight Peter Quillin. Again, he got 1.5. So you could argue, oh, it's for the opportunity, it's for all the belts, and clearly if you beat Golovkin, you get the recognition. So that's kind of where we're at. So let's try another number. So Golovkin, if with the 75 to 25 split ratio, Golovkin would get 2.2 million, right? And Jacobs would get 750. So that's the issue they're running into, is money. You know what I'm saying? Should Jacobs, for 750, I don't know how much he got for Sergio Mora and stuff like that, should he take 750,000, less than $1 million, to fight Golovkin? Because that's what it would be if the winning purse bid is $4 million, right? And that's where we're running into problems. So let's up the ante. Let's say $5 million is the winning purse bid amount, right? If it's $5 million, Golovkin gets 3.7 million, and Jacobs would get, where are we at? 1.2 million. So he, again, if the winning purse bid is $5 million, then Jacobs will still make under what he made for Peter Quillin. So you got to determine, would that be worth it? And just to put it into perspective for you about purse bids, obviously, since it's an auction style, the higher that purse bid number, the more money there is, and the better it is, and more likely that this fight will get made, because they both both parties will feel content with what they're getting, right? So to give you guys some perspective, Deontay Wilder versus Alexander Povetkin, that went to a purse bid, because the mandatory was Alexander Povetkin with the WBC, and then WBC champion was Wilder, right? And Lou DiBella got outbid by the Russian promoter World of Boxing. They bid a whopping $7.15 million, right? 7.15, which is a lot of money. But in doing that, they were getting the rights to the fight, so they can create the date within a certain time frame and stage it where they wanted to. And that's why the Russian promoter, who was the promoter for Povetkin, was staging the fight in Povetkin's hometown of Russia, or homeland of Russia, because they won the purse bid, right? And you want to give your fighter every advantage that you can going against a champion. Makes sense, right? So that was a lot of money that they put up. So with the WBC, it's a little bit different. With the WBC, they did a thing, there's a new rule where 10% goes into a holding cell, like an escrow account, and 10% is made available to the winner, right? 10% is held, and the winner gets that extra 10%, which is cool. So 7.15 million, 10% of that is $715,000, and that's in a holding account. And then they divvy up the remainder, 7.15, take 10% off top, which is 715K, right? And then the remainder is split with the 70-30, because that's what the split is with the WBC, 70-30 instead of 75-25 like the WBA, right? So that means that Wilder, win, lose, or draw, he would get at least $4.5 million to fight Povetkin. And then if he beat Povetkin, he would add that $715,000. Povetkin, if with that purse bid, was getting almost $2 million, $1.9 million. And if he knocked out Wilder, he would get an extra $715,000. So you see, the greater the purse bid number, the more likely it is to appease both parties, right? Plus the WBC, I like their rules better with the 10% in escrow, because that's like kind of how the UFC does a win bonus. If Miesha Tate knocks out Holly Holm, she gets an extra $100,000 added to her paycheck. You know what I mean? So that's that added incentive. And as you can see, Povetkin was still with the 70-30, he was still getting almost $2.2 million, $1.9 million, and Wilder was getting $4 and some change. So of course they're both going to take the fight, but it's a little bit different because with the 75-25% split for Jacobs and Golovkin, we're talking about less money. So we would have to hope that it's a high ass purse bid like this to appease both of the parties, right? I think I have one too many. It's always weird on the computer. So if it was the same purse bid winning amount from the Wilder Povetkin fight, for example, then Jacobs would be getting $1.7 million, right? So I'm sure he would be more comfortable with that, right? Because he would be getting at least getting more than he got for Quillen. You know what I mean? That's at least better, and that's a high purse bid. Not all purse bids are going to be quite that high. So with that same Wilder example, Golovkin, with the WBA rules, he would be getting $5.3 million. You know what I'm saying? So Jacobs still isn't even touching $2 million with the WBA rules with this in effect. So me, I don't know. I don't think the fight's gonna happen. That's what it really boils down to. Because even if you're divvying up, and they don't do, to my knowledge, the WBA doesn't have that rule where there's a win bonus, the 10% is held, and an escrow account. They don't do that. So it's just the split is with the split. The split is the split is the split. So again, even with the Wilder Povetkin, which was a very high winning bid auction, like the promoter really wanted that fight, and he put up $7 million plus for that fight, with the WBA 75-25% split, it's still not even like life-changing money. I just did it for you guys. I just showed you again with the same exact purse bid, then Jacobs still ain't even getting $2 million for it. So it becomes of, you know, he's getting 1.7. So it really just depends on money. That's what it boils down to. And that's the name of the game now. It's just about money. A lot of people are full of shit. They do all this, oh, it's about respect and honor. Like, you know, Floyd Mayweather and all the pay-per-view stars and Conor McGregor, all these people, they've already changed the landscape. People know that the money's there and they can get cashed out. So why are they going to try to backtrack when they know the promoters have been eaten? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of Floyd talks about this, about how the promoters and Dana White's living good and some of the fighters are starving, don't have any per diem and all this. Can't, you know what I mean? When they get in trouble with the law, they don't have enough money for bail and all this stuff. So these fighters aren't stupid anymore. So they're going to try to maximize their dollar. I mean, it's like anything. Like me, I like boxing. I've always liked it. Before, I did a lot of stuff pro bono before I started getting paid from YouTube. You know what I mean? I earned my stripes, but I'm not doing this for free. I'd have to get a regular job if I was doing it for free. You know what I mean? I need to, that's why I accept donations. I ain't too proud to beg. You know what I mean? I'm not Broner about billions. I'm not rich. So, you know what I mean? I got to fund everything, and I put in the work and put in the labor, and it is what it is. So everyone's trying to max out their dollar and get as much money as they can. So with the WBA rules and them kind of saying no to the 60-40, it creates a dilemma, because this is a fight we all want to see. And again, is it really life-changing money for Danny Jacobs? Probably not. So he would be doing it for the opportunity. But again, I will say, after further like analyzing the fight, there's a lot of people that are full of shit. If it's a fighter you don't care about what they make, then you're quick to say, oh, just take it. If you beat them, then the sky's the limit. You know what I mean? Like when they said Pacquiao and Broner were gonna fight Pacquiao, or excuse me, Garcia and Broner were gonna fight Pacquiao. They said, oh, they offered him 3-4 million or whatever, and that wasn't enough. They're like, oh, he should have took it. It's Pacquiao, right? But Pacquiao ain't gonna just take nothing. He could be fighting Chris Algieri. You know what I mean? He could fight Bradley a third time, and he still got $20 million guaranteed. You know what I'm saying? These fighters aren't stupid. So again, when it's a fighter you don't like let's say Danny Garcia or Adrian Broner, you don't care if it's peanuts or if it's not comparable, the ratio of how much they're getting. You don't care. If it's Danny Jacobs, you don't care. But if it's a fighter you like Golovkin, he's already getting the lion's share of the money, right? And now you're okay with that because the same rules apply with Canelo versus Triple G. Oscar De La Hoya said flat rate or get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, no, that's a way to stall and avoid the fight. But Canelo's clearly the A side in that situation. So boxing is just a bunch of politics, to be honest. That's why I didn't even want to make this video, because it's just tribalism, favoritism, people picking sides. People are anti Canelo and Oscar offering Golovkin, who's clearly the B side in that equation, a flat rate plus a percentile or percentage of the pay-per-view proceeds. That's still not good enough. Well, okay, Golovkin, he's a star, but he's not as big of a star. He doesn't have the same resume or accolades or accomplishments, and you're anti that. You're like, no, that's not fair. They're ducking the fight. They're just throwing that lowballed offer. But then if it's Jacobs, you don't care if it's how much he's making. You don't care if he made more money fighting Peter Quillen than the guy who's considered the boogeyman with more belts, right? You don't care about that with a guy on a 24 knockout streak. So that's the thing. Just keep it consistent. Call it consistent. Me, again, I don't care. I don't care if Golovkin got Chuck E. Cheese tokens or Jacobs, to be honest. Because, again, my routing number, I almost put the whole thing in here. If it ain't being routed to my bank account, I really could care less. But I am being realistic. I was thinking about the situation. And, again, the 75-25%, I think, is going to be the reason this fight doesn't happen next. Because it's just, I feel if Jacobs is okay with 60-40 and so is Team Triple G, then why did the WBA just intervene and basically cock block a good fight? Like, if Golovkin didn't have a problem giving up 60-40 and Jacobs, that would have made him content and gave him the wipe the bead of sweat and like, okay, I'll fight this guy for that. Then why not do it? It's a mega fight. You get to consolidate the belt so you don't have two champions holding the same belt, which is already asinine. You know what I'm saying? It's just a bunch of politics. But that's a math lesson and try to give you guys some perspective on this whole purse bid. So you got to determine, like, again, the higher the purse bid number, the more likely this fight is to happen. But I'm telling you, if it's like $3 million that's offered to put up the fight, and I haven't done my research on all-time purse bids and stuff, so I don't know how much every fight was offered or how much was the winning bid in every fight. But to me, 3 million sounds pretty average for like a fight, because it gets to a point in the promoters have to make their money back. So you can't just be putting up all this money for a fight and it's not even going to generate that much money, because then that would be stupid business. So, you know what I mean? I think 3, 4, 5 million would probably be in line with a fight like this. You know what I'm saying? If it gets to 6, 7, I'd be surprised. You know what I mean? They really want this fight. And again, if it gets to that 6, 7 mark, maybe that's enough to, and even with that, it's still going to be not that much over what Jacobs made when he fought against Peter Quillen. $7 million times 25. He'd be getting 1.7, like I said. And he got 1.5 to fight Quillen. Drop in the comment section, share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.